Cool. We are back. Welcome to the PT Graduate Podcast. Today, my guest is Jessee James from Christchurch. Welcome along, Jessee. Good to see you.
Kia ora, Rich. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. No problem. It's great to connect. As I said just before we started recording, great to connect with fellow like-minded health professionals and fellow winner. And that's probably a good place to start, right? You were 2019 PT of the Year.
Yes, I was. 2019 seems like so long ago now.
Doesn't it? Tell us about the award. Were you nominated or did you put yourself up for that? What was the process leading in?
So I was actually nominated for the award, and that was a surprise to me. I received an email to, you're nominated, blah, 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 which was pretty cool. And then from there, obviously, because you've been through the process. So went through each step and submitted, I think for me, it was an honor to be nominated. And so I was like, well, of course, I'm going to go through the steps and see what happens. And then as I made it through each stage, I was like, oh, wow, that's an achievement in itself. And then to come out the other end and having won Personal Trainer of the Year for the whole of New Zealand, it was pretty awesome. And actually quite a lot of work as well. On top of, working full-time personal training, it was like being back studying again, to be honest. Just the amount of information and I think the amount of self-reflection and also reflection on your business that you do, and then putting that into words. And it's not really something that you necessarily do very often with your business. Like you do some reflection and things, but you don't actually write down a massive 5-year plan and all these other things that are going on and really do a deep analysis, because it does take that time. So it was quite good to go through that process, and good to have that opportunity to even realize how far I'd come and where my business was at. I think probably people can tend to be quite hard on themselves and focus on the things they're not doing, rather than acknowledging the great work that they have done. So that was good for me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. You're right. It's quite a process. It's not something you can just casually, quickly knock off in half an hour. You really do have to put a bit of time and thought and effort into it. And the good thing is, it's like an auditor coming into your business and saying, hey, how does this work? How does this work? What do you do here? What do you do there? And 90% of the time, the fact that you're a winner, you're already doing it. But it does make you think, oh, actually, I could probably do that better, or I should start maybe doing this. And you walk away, award or not, you walk away with a whole bunch of tools and tips on how you could either polish things up a little bit or, do new things. Yeah, I totally agree. So there's our perfect opportunity to recommend anybody out there who hasn't applied for one of the categories in the New Zealand Exercise Fitness Awards to definitely consider it. Because I was nominated the first year I went for it as well. I don't think we necessarily are good at sort of blowing our own trumpets in New Zealand. And that nomination is a really good starting point for getting you going on that journey and going through that award process.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely it. The nomination is a good step. I mean, me personally, I would never self-nominate. Just that's my own thing, I guess. About it, but just because I don't like to blow my own trumpet, if you and those sort of words. Yeah. But I know some people who have done it, and again, whatever way you get there, it's going to help your business. It's just up to you how you achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a bit about your journey into the industry and sort of what got you started, and where your passion came from, and all that sort of stuff to where you are today.
Wow, that's a whole lot going on there. So for me, I've always been into exercise, into sports. At school I did like double PE. I was one of those kids. rather than doing a huge amount of science or maths. I chose double PE. So one was outdoor education and one was physical education. So I liked the bit of both. I liked being out in the outdoors and doing that sort of thing, and kayaking and tramping and stuff. And I enjoyed the sports side of things and the sports science side of things that you learned to high school. And then fast forward from there, I had like a year, 2 years off, and I just worked full time. And then from there, while I was working, actually looked at applying for the Navy. So I put my application in for the Navy, and I got accepted. And so in terms of the path I wanted to take in there, again, I didn't want to go through as a thing called a Kippenberg scheme, and if you get accepted, they'll pay for your education. But I didn't go that way. I wanted to be a sailor and work my way up.
Right.
So I had a conversation with my recruiter, and I said, if I decide later on that I want to study, how long does it take for me to have the opportunity to go and do my own self-development and study? And they said, probably about 5 years, and then you have a bit more freedom to go to university or something like that. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do it now, so then I have a qualification behind me and then go on. And then so I went to university, and I studied at Massey University in Wellington. So I studied a Bachelor of Health Science, majoring in sports and exercise. As much as I thought that degree was practical, it wasn't. There was only like 10-20% of it that you were actually out there doing practical stuff. The remainder of it was learning the theory behind the cells and the body and how everything worked together. However, really sort of found, I think, my passion for helping people through my study. And in the last year of it, I had to do 200 hours placement. So you had to work with a variety of clients. And so for me, I was in the hospital. I worked in the cardiac rehab clinic. So people who just had a heart operation or a stent put in, something like that. And then I worked with a firefighter, with him rehabilitating, and some sports teams and things like that. And then I saw the effect that you can have on other people by you can really help them, you can make a difference in them, as well as constantly learning, because while squat may work really well for someone over here, that exercise might not necessarily work for this person, or they might not biomechanically be able to do it. So that just sort of fueled me to want to learn more and want to help more people, which was awesome. And amongst that, I did a lot of coaching. So I coached dragon boating. I've coached strength and conditioning coach for Touch for Wellington. I did football coaching as well. So that was a part of it. Was I did a bit of coaching at school, but it was an opportunity to keep helping while I was studying, but also learn at the same time. And then when I was finishing my degree, I always worked out at Les Mills in Wellington. And one of the guys that I worked with, that I studied with, he worked there, and he said, you should apply to work here. Instead of just, you get a gym discount or you get a free membership, and I was like, I don't know, like I quite enjoy the space just to work out in. But he's like, just give it a go. They weren't actually hiring. But they said, just send your CV through. So I went, okay, why not? See what happens. So I sent my CV through, and then I got an interview, and then next minute I got a job there, and they weren't actually advertising for anyone. So I guess I kind of like fell into the exercise industry world, if you will. And then from there, I'd finished my study. I was working at Les Mills. I was actually working at Donut King as well. So that's a bit of a conflict of interest.
Good balance.
You're right. Obviously, at some stage, I realized that I wanted to focus on one area. Not really prop up my job by here's some donuts, here's some exercise. So and then from there I moved on and stopped Donut King, and I worked at Icebreaker, but still as a gym instructor at Les Mills. And then the personal training manager at Les Mills in Wellington came and approached me and said, we've been watching you, you're doing some really great work, would you be interested in being a personal trainer? And I thought about it and I thought, wow, I think I've really enjoyed helping people in the role that I'm in. And I could make more of a difference, because as a gym instructor, you weren't just responsible for taking members through free programming, but you were a first responder in emergency and helped with maintaining equipment. Right. And so there was a lot of other avenues rather than just being able to focus on like client care. So I thought actually that would be, really awesome, but I didn't say yes to the job. I said, I'll think about it. Because I was going to Greece on a 2-month holiday, and at that stage I was actually working 3 jobs, and I worked 7 days a week to save up so that I could go away and just have 2 months where I wasn't working. Brilliant. I was free, and I think for me, so I went away and did some self-growth and just had that opportunity to go say yes rather than, oh, sorry, I can't do that because I have to go to work or because I have to do something else.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, I was very certain of who I was and what I wanted. And so I went back to the PT manager because he said, you can come back and say yes later if you want. And I said, yep, absolutely keen, and sort of went from there. I feel like that was a really long-winded story.
No, I love those stories. It's kind of it's getting the nitty-gritty and the real, who you are as a person. It's awesome. And Greece, not a bad place to go if you're going to take time off. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Definitely one of the best experiences of my life. I spent 2 months in Crete, mainly in just in and around Crete, and then I went off to Santorini for a little bit and came back, and it was pretty awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world. So how long was that period as the gym instructor? What was the time in that role as instructor?
So gym instructor, I was in for about a year.
Yeah.
A year just gym instructor, a year and a half. And then I started personal training towards the end of 2016. Yeah. And then I was doing both. So I was gym instructor, I was personal trainer. And I still worked at the airport as well. Yeah. But not as Donut King anymore though.
Different shop.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how valuable was that to you to have that period of gym instructing to what you went on to?
I think it was very valuable. I do actually recommend it to people, a lot of young people coming out, or mixed age, I suppose, wanting to just jump straight into personal training. But for me, it showed a glimpse into what it would be like to be a personal trainer, because there were constant interactions with people who've been personal trainers for a year through to 20, 30 years. So you had an opportunity to talk with them and to learn from them, and actually to see on gym floor potentially what you might want to replicate, in terms of how they presented themselves and interacted with clients. And then you'd also see some things that you're like, oh, actually, I probably wouldn't do that. That doesn't look so professional while you're sitting there on your phone, sort of things like that. And, just having those conversations and learning from their experiences, not just in terms of training, but in terms of their own business and what that sort of looks like. And it gave you an opportunity to see, actually, is that something that I would want to do? Is that something that I could do? And you could sort of sit on that, and then while at the same time as a gym instructor, you had the opportunity to practice, because you're like, for me, I was at university, so different scale in terms of what you're learning as opposed to just a year course, but you're constantly learning with everyone that you interact with, no matter what you study. So having that opportunity to do programming and then to receive feedback on that, I think was really, really beneficial. Yeah. And you didn't have the pressure of, when you become a personal trainer, there's a lot of pressure to, perform and to make income, because obviously if you don't have clients, you're not going to make any money. Whereas as a gym instructor, it's a job, so you were getting paid from the gym, so there wasn't that pressure. Yeah. And was at that time, was Les Mills still doing that an induction process for PTs where they
bring them all together and have training days and to gear them up to how they want a Les Mills PT to behave and operate?
Yeah, so that's the business module. I think that's what you're talking about.
I think so, yeah.
So they actually, well, they still run them. Obviously, it's a little bit different now, more virtual and online. But just due to the PT modules actually run up in Auckland, in the main Les Mills office, and they can't host that at the moment, unfortunately. And so when I was coming through, yes, it's very much a part of becoming a personal trainer at Les Mills. So you move in, and they send you away on the course. It may be before you start, it may be while you've already started working there. It just depends, when the course falls.
Sure.
And then you go away for a few days and just have sort of like that intensive learning, and you get the opportunity to practice taking sessions, and you're observed, and then you play the part of a client, and the other personal trainer will take the session.
Right.
And then you learn more about the business side of things, and the expectations of you as being self-employed, and what that looks like in terms of tax and selling brand and things like that. A little bit of marketing. You learn about different resources out there that could help your business, and then the forms, some template sort of forms that you could utilize as well with clients. But again, you sort of take from that what you want, because you're still your own individual business at the end of the
Sounds like a good process to go through anyway, I guess.
Yeah, it's really good.
I guess getting everybody on even if they've started on a similar level playing field in terms of knowledge and how they would like PTs to do their thing within the brand.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're still in the brand, so they set that standard, and Les Mills is world-renowned brand. So I think even actually just being a personal trainer for Les Mills is pretty, it's pretty up there. It's quite an honor, because it's not an easy job to get,
Sure. Yeah. So it's not a low bar. There's a threshold that has to be met.
Absolutely. I mean, when you apply to be a personal trainer, or asked, in my case, whatever, you go through a process of, you take a session, and then the PT manager will observe you taking that session, and you'll get graded. So you have to get kind of a certain score to meet the standard of a personal trainer at the gym. And then you have your fitness assessment when you're coming in as well, so they can see that you can do the stuff required for a personal trainer. So you can't just come in, sign a contract, and then just hit the ground running, if you will.
That's reassuring. I think from a global brand, you would certainly expect those sorts of standards, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your brand, your business now. I see you've got your logo on your shirt right there, and I'm struggling. It's Embrace. Is it Tinana?
Yeah, that's it. You said it correctly. Nice
Excellent.
work.
Okay, right.
So my brand. So obviously, when you're at when I work under the umbrella of Les Mills when I'm in the club. So obviously wearing all Les Mills gears and stuff like that. But I was about 2017. I established Embrace Tinana, and there was a lot of reasons, but the main reason was for me as a trainer, I wanted my clients to feel a part of a community, to feel part of something, and I didn't want to have Jessee James personal training, because personally, I feel like that's a bit self-absorbed, and that's my own opinion of it. So I wanted them to feel a part of something, and so Embrace is obviously the English word for embrace, but Tinana means the body. In Maori, and I'm Maori, so I wanted to bring a bit of my heritage through in there as well. And it's about helping because for me, it's about helping my clients embrace every part of their bodies. And because everyone is individual and everyone is different, I try and help and support my clients to understand that and realize that actually they're awesome. And their body is not like, Kim Kardashian or whoever it is on social media. Their body is their body, and it's about figuring out how their body moves, how their body works, and actually appreciating and embracing all parts of their body. So I have quite a holistic approach to exercise. You've probably seen that online somewhere. And that's the basis of my model. So I use Te Whare Tapawhā, which is, the hauora well-being.
Yes.
And so that is, that's my key foundations for everything I do. So that's that mental well-being, the tinana, the physical well-being, the taha whānau, and taha wāroa, so the spiritual well-being and all the stuff that interplays with that. So when I came up with my logo, it had to reflect that as well. So it's a circle because everything is interconnected. There's a dolphin on the top, which is my favorite animal. It's my favorite animal, but they're very loyal creatures, and they mate life. They are strong and dependable, and I believe everyone actually has a dolphin in them. So that's why it's at the top here. And then sort of 3 is a lucky number, but it's land, air, sea. So all coming in. So you got the land, you got the waves, the sea, and you got the mountains in there as well.
Nice.
And so then everything is interconnected. So every line is actually connected to each other, just like every part of the body is connected. So this logo actually took about a year and a half to design. Because it had to. I'm quite a particular person. You can pick that up already.
Of course you are.
And so it had to reflect what Embrace Tinana was about. So that's how Embrace Tinana began, and then launched that. So then everything comes. So Embrace Tinana is Jessee James, but it's Embrace Tinana. So then everything falls under that, and then it meant that I could step away, and Embrace Tinana sort of stands alone, and eventually it will grow, and I'll be over here, if that makes sense. So I'll still be with Embrace Tinana, but Embrace Tinana will be its own, and it is really now its own thing rather than me being in it.
Wow. Yeah. So what's it morphed into? What sort of things are going on to sort of, on a day-to-day basis or week to week?
So it's more, I think that my clients are a part of it, so that my clients have made, Embrace Tinana. Every interaction that I've had with people have grown from that. So, day to day, obviously still personal training. Now just not in person, online as well, and I do mobile personal training, kind of like every avenue that I can help you out, I try and tap into, and a lot more in the sort of mental health and wellbeing space as well. So some clients actually come and see me and they don't have a session in terms of exercise. They just sit down and do some breathing and just have a chat. That's not every session, but there's some sessions that are like that. So I think it's morphed into what it should be right now, and there's more potential for that to grow. If that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And I think you're supporting that. You're supporting all of those pillars beautifully and evenly by having that ability to run a session along those lines, rather than we're exercising again today, because sometimes that isn't the right thing, is it? And I suppose with the uncertainty of what's going on with COVID, and obviously different parts of the country at different levels and sort of mindsets with that, because of where the problems may be. Different people need different things at different times, so it gives you that adaptability to help whoever it is in front of you in a different way that it may have been for them the previous week.
That's it, and I think that's what Embrace Tinana allows me to do, because when people go online, they search Embrace Tinana, you put it in first thing that comes up on Google, they can actually read and see, okay, so this is what I need, this is what I'm after, rather than association with Jessee James and going on trying to stalk me as such. They can, because sometimes I think also that if it's based on a person, then people can also make their own assumptions about what someone might do or what that could be about. Whereas Embrace Tinana is very clear in what Embrace Tinana is, and what Embrace Tinana can do to help them. So they're not looking at a person as such, they're looking at a service that can help and support them.
Yeah. I
even
like
though
that.
I'm attached to that service and obviously I'm all about it.
Yeah.
They're looking at the service and not looking at Jessee James as much. You know what I mean?
I totally do. It allows you to create that sort of, it allows you to create that distance from those values that the business sort of lives by with that health model, but isn't reliant on Jessee James for its delivery necessarily. So I'm sort of reading between the lines here, but I guess potentially you could say, look, I need to step away for a week or a month or whatever it is, and someone else could come in and go, yep, I can understand everything that this stands for, and I can probably carry on delivering it with my version or my flavor, but still stick to those values that
Absolutely.
Tinana means.
Absolutely. So that's that, in the future, potentially that could where that direction would be, so that I still oversee it, and it's still, I'd still ensure it's under, carrying out the values that I set for it. But I'm able to step away and potentially do something else,
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, for me personally, as Jessee James, those are all my values as well.
Right.
That I utilize in my life, but it's something that I've created into a business as well. Just because I think people really need that, aside from COVID, because let's not talk about that too much. Social media has a really big influence on people. It can be positive, but there's a lot of negative influences, and people tend to compare themselves a lot. I mean, that was one thing I suppose I got to mention, that when I was a gym instructor, a lot of people would come in, particularly females, and when they were saying, what their goals were, they'd say, oh, I saw blah, blah, blah online, I want to look like this, or I want to lose some body fat in between my thighs, but nowhere else, And it's about having those conversations to realize that, obviously you're not this person, or you can't just focus on body fat in one particular area. It's not how it works. So those interactions, made me realize that actually there's a lot of people out there that don't love themselves, and fast forwarding 6 years later, I feel like it's got worse. that people don't love themselves, and mental health has really taken a big hit. And part of Embrace Tinana, about people having a community, it's about supporting people to help them love themselves, embrace all parts of their body, because at the end of the day, I truly believe that everyone is awesome. It's just about trying to help and support them to realize their own individual awesomeness. And personal training is quite intimidating for a lot of people. When they see personal training, they go, oh, actually that's a bit scary, especially if they've never experienced a personal trainer before. And I've had quite a few clients that have come to me after having a few years away from the gym, and they've had terrible experiences with personal trainers. Terrible. They've had personal trainers that have treated them like they're some sort of drill sergeant and yelled at them, or told them that you're this size and you'll never get any better. You're just going to stay that way. And so you can imagine that those clients I've had come to me have left those personal trainers, and also left exercise altogether. And it's only, in one case, I think it was like 10 years later that they came, and one of their friends had said, just go and have a conversation with Jessee. And then now, they're one of my clients.
Fantastic.
So that's, for me, is where I don't associate with that side of personal training. And sadly, it's out there. And it's just focusing on the body. It's not considering all other aspects. And I think it's just so important that you do, because everyone's individual. And sometimes they come into the gym or outside, wherever you're having your session, and they've had a terrible day. They've had some serious, bad stuff happen. And so they don't really feel like doing a structured session, what you've got planned. They actually could benefit, by doing some boxing, sometimes, because I specialize in boxing. It's one of my areas. And even if I've got a structured session, if someone comes in and says, what, Jessee, I've just bad, I'm like, right, let's go, let's chuck some boxing in there, and that gets it out. Need that that unwind, that de-stress. At the moment, it's changed a little bit because of COVID, so I've had to adapt because I can't do boxing. But try and find other exercises that exert that same amount of frustration.
You had I had that boxing specialist on my list ready to ask.
There you go.
So you tick that box beautifully. That's great, and I'm really on the same page as you, Jessee. I mean, that is exactly the approach I take. And there's a lot of education that needs to go on. That, you know, personal training isn't like a haircut. You don't bring a picture and go, I want that cut, and then you have that cut. It's slightly different for the body. And you're right, you know, the perception of that personal training is a certain thing and everybody does it the same way, and it's drill sergeant stuff is just not good for the industry, I don't think, because it just, you know, it's one size fits all. And as you said, everybody's body is different and everybody needs something different on different days, and depending on what they've had, how their day has gone, you know. And the adaptable smart trainers are the ones that tune into that, can see that somebody doesn't need a hard session or somebody does need a hard session, or, you know, something in between, and can be selective and creative and adapt on the go as someone walks in the door, as opposed to, right, it's just another personal training session. Yeah, you're right.
But I think you've just hit the nail on the head there, really. And adaptability is actually a massive part of being a personal trainer, because especially if you work in a gym environment, you know, you might have a session plan. You're going to do, I don't know, the squat rack and the leg press and something else, chest press, for example. But those are commonly used bits of machinery, right? So you need to be adaptable and go, okay, sweet, that's taken, you know, I can do something else, and or even that option's taken. So you kind of need like a plan A through F. At the same time, while also considering your client's needs and where they're at the same time considering their goals and what they want to achieve.
Yes. It's
so,
often, you know, it's multi-layered most of the time.
Absolutely. And I think you have to just be flexible. You know, as being flexible, being adaptable, is probably what is quite a big challenge for a lot of new trainers coming in as well. And it's kind of, I think, personal training is sometimes sold as quite glamorous, in a sense that you have your own business and you can do your own hours and you can make lots of money, and it's just so cool, and you have a nice body. But the thing is that obviously, you know, like when you start personal training, it's not like that. It's you work whatever hours you have to work, and you then find that you have to change your own training times because you don't have time. You've got to work. That's more important, right? And so it's not so glamorous. And I think that's the sad thing is, you know, a lot of new trainers coming in don't even last a year. Just because of all those parameters that, you know, they're not really told when they're studying how challenging it actually is, and that you're working with a person and they have their own personality, and while you say they should do this, they not necessarily agree, or they might not open up, and they haven't told you about an injury, and then they start exercising, they've got one, you know. It's just, you know, quite a few different challenges. Obviously now I've been doing it for a little while longer than a year, so you get into a place where you can, you know, sort your schedule out and do what you need to do. But when you're just starting out, it doesn't work like that.
That's absolutely right. Great advice, and good for people to hear that, I think, you know, if they are new and getting into it. So why the boxing? What was the interest with that, and being a bit of a specialist in boxing?
Good question. So I've done boxing. I've done boxing for a bit. I just made me realize, like, I was like, oh, it's actually, you know, quite a lot longer than I was thinking about. Maybe I'm a bit older than the last someone asked me this. So I've done it for about it's for about 15 years now.
Right.
And it was it's about 15 years. So I actually, my first ever job was working at Les Mills in the cafe in Wellington. And they needed a front of house barista, and anyway, got this job at this gym, and I was, you know, young person, first job. It was very exciting, and I guess I've kind of been on the journey of just working in gyms ever since I was 15. But I worked in the gym, and it was kind of cool. You meet these personal trainers and have these chats, and there was one personal trainer, her name's Flo, and she's awesome. She's probably like one of a few people that have like inspired me in my career, and she was kind of like a bit of an auntie, you know, and I got on with her really well, and her son and I hung out, and she was personal trainer, and she specializes in boxing. So she trained people for fights and stuff like that. And she sort of took me under her wing and took me through some sessions, and it kind of I think when I was growing up, I probably had like anyone, you have challenges when you're growing up. And when I was 12, I actually started going to the gym with my mum.
Cool.
Not Les Mills, another gym, because it helped me to sort of release tension and stuff.
Yep.
And from there, I, was still exercising and things, but when Flo showed me boxing, it was a really good way to exert any energies that you've got going on and sort of center and clear your head. Because you are thinking so much about your form, your technique, and how you're hitting, you don't have a lot of time to think about anything else,
Yeah.
You focus. Whereas, if you're doing a set, you're doing dumbbell curls or whatever, you're going to have a rest at some stage, and there's still time to think. It probably sounds a bit crazy, but anyway, so that got me into boxing, and Flo really helped me. I mean, I always have her in my head, core, hold your core, and it was kind of the key words, and don't stop, keep going, core. But she was only like that when we were in the session, and it was actually what I needed, that sort of style of training. And it just sort of stuck from there, and so I trained with her, and then did my own training, and then I had another a boxing trainer as well, and and then it's just so 15 years later, it's still stuck. Have you ever done boxing yourself?
Yeah, I did a bit of Thump. I don't know if you came across Thump over the year. They did a couple of courses. When would this is back 2009, I think I did that.
Oh, that's a while ago.
An Australian outfit, and he owned by an Italian dude, and I think he sent one of his guys across to do level 1, level 2. Level 2 brings in all the kicking and the legs and all that sort of stuff. It's boxing for fitness. It's not boxing. But it was a really useful tool. Back when I was happy to pad for half a day. Now I'm not so keen on padding for that so many sessions. But I see the value.
It's your strong shoulders.
You got bulletproof shoulders if you're going to be a padder. But definitely, I see the value, and it's people love it. They do. It's just close to fighting without fighting. And we don't do that in civilized society, do we? So for an everyday person to be able to strap on the gloves and just give those pads or a bag or whatever a damn good thrashing, it feels really good.
It does feel really good in a safe, controlled environment.
Exactly.
And it's really good exercise as well. It's a lot more it does, and I think there's a lot more to boxing. I think sometimes people think it's just you're hitting with your arms, so it's just an arm workout, but if those are the people who haven't really given it a go. But once you get into it, it is predominantly core work, and I do find that I say it but not quite that way myself, but a lot of core, and actually you think about it as whole body. So
totally. Well, it's from the feet up. It's from the feet up. I remember this guy actually told a story when he was getting into boxing. This instructor, proper boxing. He was sent to a dance academy, and they made him dance or learn to dance in the basement of this academy for 6 months. And if he gave up, he was never going to box. He had to complete 6 months of dancing in the basement of this dance academy. And it was all about feet, it was about body awareness, positioning, where your weight is. And then they said, right, you can start boxing now, after he'd done that 6 months. I'm like, bloody hell.
Footwork's a massive part of it.
Yeah. And then of course hips, isn't it? Everything starts with the hips, and you're following through from the hips, and it's brilliant. Now you're the ambassador for PT Council Christchurch, Canterbury, is that right?
Yes, well, one of there's two of us down here.
So you and Andrew Wilson, is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent. I got to chat to Andrew the other day, actually, so that's the reason for making contact, because I want to say hello to all the ambassadors that give all their, not all, but a lot of their time for managing and monitoring and keeping the Facebook page going and organising events and doing all the amazing things that you guys do for
thank you.
for that. So it's really appreciated, and I just hope everybody who sees that and also takes advantage of the connection, you know, meeting up, and obviously when there's more virtual stuff now, but anything to share about the role and anything that people should probably know?
I think it's another one I'm honoured to be the ambassador for, or one of the ambassadors for Christchurch region. I think that's pretty cool to be out there to support personal trainers in the area. And at the moment, we're supporting the Tasman Marlborough district too.
Right.
But we're not ambassadors for the area, but they don't have anyone, so we're trying to, you know,
Okay.
put a hand in every pie.
Good to know.
But yeah, so I think the key thing is just trying to get people out there to know about the PT Council. At the moment, you know, there are a few people that know, but not that many. So just, you know, raising that awareness to let them know that there's, you know, the staff room. That's what we're sort of compared to, a staff room for them, so that they can come, they can have a chat, they can ask for advice or seek support, or sort of whatever they need. So that's what Andrew and I are trying to do, is just raise that awareness. However, at the moment, it is, I suppose, more challenging than others to initiate new conversation, because people are uncertain of where they're at right now with COVID and what that looks like and stresses. So trying to be understanding of that, and just go, here you go, have a chat if you want, we're here, because people are going through some tough times at the moment. You know.
No,
but yeah,
good.
just letting people know that we're out there and we're keen to help, and you know, we always like having a chat.
Good on you. Brilliant. That's what it's about. Now, you've already shared a number of amazing gems along the way, and hopefully I've sort of drawn those out. But anything in addition, sort of things for you that, you know, I guess tips, you know, things that have really worked, things that you sort of live by, or things that haven't worked that you've kind of learned a lesson from, anything that, you know, on your mind on that front?
Probably a few things. I'd say you need to find your mantra. So for me, embrace Tinana is believe, achieve, succeed. So I say that if you believe in whatever it is that you want to achieve, you will achieve it, and therefore you will be successful in whatever that is. So that doesn't necessarily have to be in relation to exercise. I believe that's just for life. I think put yourself out there, you know, and take opportunities that come your way. And if they aren't coming your way, you know, you can't just sit there and wait for life to just land on your doorstep. Go and find them. Put yourself out there. Put yourself in the uncomfortable zones, you know, so that you can grow and learn, because that's how we grow and learn, from new experiences and new interactions with people. And be open to other people's ideas and suggestions, because at the end of the day, any information is good information, because you get these deck of cards. I think you get a deck of cards for life, and it's up to you how you play them. You know, you could just fold and just give up, or you can start playing the game, because you only get one life. You know, I strongly believe that you only live once, and that life is for the living, because it's so short and you don't know when it's going to go. So it's important that you make the most of every single day that you got on this earth, because you don't know. I mean, I think you only live once. I don't actually know, but hey, I'm alive right now, so I'm going to make the bloody well most of it while I can. Yeah, awesome, fantastic. I love that, Jessee. That's some great notes. I was scribbling while you were talking there. I believe, achieve, succeed. That's got a great ring to it, and some great tips after that as well. So I will add those to the show notes. It's been really great talking to you. It's you know, it's funny when, you know, you say that you're going to have a chat to somebody and you've actually never met them in person, and so you're building rapport as you go. It's like, I think I heard Ish the other day on his podcast saying, you know, we're building the plane while we're flying it, and
you know, it sort of feels like we've built the plane already, because it's been
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like I've known you for years.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. It's been an awesome conversation, and I hope that that people enjoy it and get as much out of it as I have. So thanks for your time.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Ngā mihi to you.
No, thank you. And stay safe, and you know, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. You too. Hopefully we get to meet in person next
It'd
time.
be good. Yes, let's arrange that. Let's try and make that happen. Cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Cheers, Jessee.